Hey everyone, welcome back to Null channel. Today is January 5th, 2026, and the AI world has kicked off the new year at full throttle. Big safety warnings, breakthrough training techniques, brain-computer interfaces going into mass production, governments finally doing something about data and privacy, and social media getting hammered by AI-fueled disinformation. Let's dive into your AI news roundup. Story 1. AI safety. We may not have time. Let's start with the biggest mood setter for 2026 AI safety. This news comes from The Guardian, highlighted on Hacker News AI Topics, and was published on January 4th, 2026. The Guardian is reporting on a leading AI safety researcher who's warning that the world may not have time to properly prepare for the risks posed by rapidly advancing AI. The core idea is the pace of progress in frontier models and autonomy is outstripping our ability to build guardrails, governance, and robust testing. The researcher is essentially saying, we're moving from chatbots that answer questions to systems that can act, write code, control tools, and operate semi-autonomously. But our safety infrastructure, evaluation methods, red teaming, regulation, and international coordination is lagging far behind. If capabilities keep scaling faster than safety tools and policy, we may hit dangerous failure modes before we're ready. This ties into a theme you'll hear throughout today's episode. AI is getting more powerful and more embedded in everything, from geopolitics to healthcare to your search traffic, and we're scrambling to adjust. Story 2. Frontier AI trends. Governments are watching. Staying on the safety and governance theme, we have an official perspective on where frontier AI is heading. This news comes from the UK's Artificial Intelligence Safety Institute via Hacker News AI Topics, and was released on January 4th, 2026. The UK AISI has published its Frontier AI Trends Report, essentially a state of the union for cutting-edge AI. While the full report is long and technical, here are the big picture trends it's tracking. Rapid scaling. Frontier models are still getting larger and more capable, but also more efficient. We're not just throwing compute at the problem. We're getting smarter about architectures and training. General purpose agents. We're moving from static models to AI agents that can plan, act, and interact with external tools and systems. Dual use risks. The same models that can help with scientific discovery can also accelerate cyber attacks, disinformation, and potentially bio or other security risks. Governance race. Governments are trying to catch up, with institutes like AISI focusing on evals, benchmarks, and standards for frontier models specifically. Taken together with that Guardian piece, you can see the tension. Governments are now actively studying frontier AI, but the researchers quoted in The Guardian are worried that even this catch-up mode is still too slow. If you want to read that report yourself, it's available at AISI.gov.uk under Frontier AI Trends Report. Story 3. Neuralink, mass-produced brain implants, from abstract risk to very literal brain-computer interfaces. This news comes from Unwire.hk in Hong Kong and was published on January 4th, 2026. Unwire.hk reports that Neuralink, Elon Musk's brain implant company, plans to start mass production of its brain-computer interface devices in 2026 and move surgeries toward being almost fully automated. According to the report, Musk posted on X that Neuralink is transitioning from clinical trials into commercial-scale manufacturing. The surgical procedure is being pushed toward near-full automation, presumably using the company's surgical robot to handle the delicate implantation tasks. This marks a shift from experimental to productization, essentially treating brain implants more like a medical device pipeline than a one-off science project. If Neuralink actually executes on this, It could dramatically lower the cost and increase the availability of brain-computer interfaces for patients with paralysis or other neurological conditions. But it also raises big ethical and safety questions. Who regulates mass-produced brain implants? How do we test long-term effects? What happens to the data streaming directly from your brain? So in the same week, we're talking about AI safety and frontier trends. We're also seeing AI adjacent hardware moving into mass production that literally interfaces with the human nervous system. Story 4. California's one-click data deletion. Let's shift to privacy and data, the fuel of a lot of these AI systems. This news comes from Engadget and was published on January 3, 2026. Engadget reports that California has launched something called the Delete Request and Opt-out Platform, or DROP, a free one-stop platform that lets California residents request deletion of their personal data from every registered data broker in the state. Here's how it works, according to Engadget and the California Privacy Protection Agency. You verify that you're a California resident. Through DROP, you send a single deletion request that's forwarded to all registered data brokers in California. Data brokers are now required to register annually with the state, process deletion and opt-out requests from DROP, report the types of information they collect and share, undergo audits and face penalties if they ignore the rules. Brokers will begin processing the first deletion requests from DROP starting August 1st, 2026. This is important for AI because large models and ad systems are often trained or targeted based on vast pools of brokered data. Tools like DROP give individuals a way to claw back some control over what data is available to those systems. California is the first state with a tool this comprehensive, and Engadget notes that only a small handful of other states, Oregon, Texas, and Vermont, even require data broker registration at all. So while AI systems are becoming more powerful, we're also seeing the first serious attempts at giving users real leverage over the data ecosystem that feeds those systems. Story 5. AI and Geopolitics. Disinformation after Maduro's capture. Now, to one of the most immediate real-world risks of advanced AI, information warfare. This news comes from Wired's Artificial Intelligence section and was published on January 3, 2026. Wired reports that after the US invasion of Venezuela and the capture of Nicolas Maduro, social media platforms were flooded with disinformation, including what appear to be AI-generated videos and repurposed old footage across TikTok, Instagram, and X. According to Wired, misleading posts exploded immediately after Maduro's capture, many of them highly polished and emotionally charged. Some clips seem to be synthetic or heavily AI edited. Others were old footage being reframed as breaking news. The major platforms did very little, very slowly to stem the flow. Content moderation systems and fact-checking lagged behind the speed and volume of the posts. This is exactly the kind of scenario AI safety folks have been warning about. Generative models make it cheap and fast to create realistic fake content at scale. In moments of crisis or conflict, that content can shape public opinion, obscure what's actually happening on the ground, and even affect diplomatic or military decisions. So while researchers and governments are talking long-term existential risk, Wired is showing a very present, very messy form of AI risk playing out right now: information chaos in geopolitics. Story 6. DeepSeek's MHC Old Math New Models. Let's go under the hood for a moment and talk about a technical breakthrough that could define the next generation of language models. We actually have two separate pieces here on the same story. First, this news comes from MarkTechPost AI News and was published on January 3rd, 2026. MarkTechPost reports that researchers at DeepSeek are tackling a specific instability problem in training very large language models. The issue comes from so-called hyperconnections, which are like widened versions of residual connections, the shortcut pathways that made deep networks trainable in the first place. At very large scales, these hyperconnections can make training unstable. Gradients explode, models diverge, training becomes fragile. DeepSeek's solution is something they call MHC, Manifold Constrained Hyperconnections. The key idea: they keep the richer topology and performance benefits of hyperconnections, but they constrain how information is mixed using a matrix normalization algorithm that dates all the way back to 1967. By locking the mixing behavior to a specific manifold, they stabilize training at very large scales. Now, the second piece of this story, this news comes from Unwire.hk and was published on January 4th, 2026. Unwire.hk reports that DeepSeek released a technical paper over the New Year's holiday describing this Liu Xing Yueshu Chao Lian Ji. That's the Chinese name for Manifold Constrained Hyperconnections, or MHC. The paper quickly caught the attention of international tech media, with some calling it a breakthrough in large model training. Unwired.hk also notes an important hint. The paper strongly suggests that DeepSeek's next major model, referred to as V4, may debut around Lunar New Year. So, DeepSeek is reviving a 1967 matrix normalization idea and applying it to modern hyperconnections. This could let them train bigger, more capable models more stably and efficiently. And it may be the secret sauce behind an upcoming DeepSeek V4 release. This fits into a broader theme you'll hear again in a minute with Anthropic. The frontier race is no longer just about raw scale, it's about clever math, stability, and getting more out of the same or even smaller compute budgets. Story 7. AI in Healthcare EEG for Dementia Diagnosis. From Model Internals to Medical Impact. This news comes from a paper in Frontiers in Medicine surfaced on Hacker News AI Topics and was published online in 2025, with the Hacker News entry appearing on January 4th, 2026. The paper describes a deep learning framework for diagnosing dementias using EEG, that's electroencephalography or brainwave recordings. Key ideas from the Frontiers in Medicine article. Instead of relying only on cognitive tests or expensive imaging like MRI or PET scans, the researchers use EEG data fed into deep learning models to distinguish between different dementia types or detect early signs of disease. EEG is cheaper, more portable, and more widely available than advanced imaging, especially in lower resource settings. The deep learning pipeline handles complex temporal and spatial patterns in the brain signals, which are hard to interpret manually. If this approach is validated and scaled, it could enable earlier, more accessible screening for dementia. It might help differentiate between similar-looking conditions, which is crucial for treatment planning. So on one side we have brain implants and commercial BCIs. On the other, we have non-invasive EEG plus deep learning for diagnosis. Either way, AI is moving deeper into how we measure, interpret, and ultimately intervene in brain function. Story 8. AI search is changing the web game. Now let's talk about something every business and content creator should be paying attention to: AI search. This news comes from an in-depth blog post by Mihir Naik, surfaced on Hacker News AI Topics and linked on January 4th, 2026. The article is titled "How AI Search is Forcing Businesses to Rethink Visibility, Authority, and Control," and its main thesis is blunt. SEO is no longer just about driving traffic to your site. Here's the shift the article describes. Traditional SEO optimized for blue links and clicks. You wanted to rank high so users would visit your site. With AI search and answer engines, think ChatGPT style interfaces, AI overviews, and conversational search, the AI often summarizes content and never sends the user to the original page. That means your brand, your expertise, and your data might be used to answer users' questions without them ever seeing you. So, according to Mihir Naik, businesses need to think less about traffic and more about representation and authority inside AI systems. That might mean structuring content so it's machine readable, building recognizable brands that are cited or surfaced, or even negotiating new kinds of partnerships or licensing deals. It also raises questions of control. How do you know what AI systems are saying about your company, your products, or your research? This ties right back to the UK Frontier Trends report and the Guardian safety warning. AI systems aren't just tools you query, they're becoming the interface to information itself. And that's forcing a rethinking of how authority and visibility work on the internet. Story 9. Anthropic's Do More with Less strategy. Finally, let's zoom in on one of the major frontier labs and how they're staying competitive in this landscape. This news comes from CNBC, surfaced via Hacker News AI Topics, and was published on January 3rd, 2026. CNBC interviewed Anthropic co-founder Daniela Amode about how Anthropic has managed to stay at the AI frontier despite not always having the biggest compute or the largest war chest compared to some rivals. Her answer, a do more with less bet. According to CNBC's reporting, Anthropic has focused heavily on efficiency, better training methods, smarter data curation, and model architectures that squeeze more capability out of each unit of compute. They've leaned into safety and alignment research as a core differentiator, trying to build models that are not just powerful, but also more steerable and reliable. This approach has kept them competitive with much larger players in terms of model quality and capabilities. When you put this next to DeepSeek's MHC work, you see a clear pattern. The new frontier isn't just raw scale. It's stability, efficiency, and smart use of old mathematical ideas. Labs that can innovate on training techniques and alignment may punch far above their weight in the capabilities race. And this loops all the way back to that Guardian article and the UK Frontier Trends report. As labs learn to do more with less, the pace of capability gains could accelerate even faster than our intuition based on sheer compute would suggest, which makes the safety and governance challenge even tougher. Wrap up. So, putting it all together, The Guardian, via Hacker News AI Topics, is sounding the alarm that we may not have enough time to fully prepare for the risks of advanced AI. The UK AI Safety Institute's Frontier. AI Trends Report is government's attempt to systematically track those risks and capabilities. Neuralink, as reported by Unwire.hk, is pushing brain-computer interfaces into mass production and near-automated surgery. California, via Engadget's coverage, is rolling out Drop, a one-stop tool to delete your data from registered data brokers, a big move for privacy in an AI-driven world. Wired is documenting how AI-generated and repurposed media are already destabilizing information flows during major geopolitical events like the capture of Nicolas Maduro. DeepSeek, in coverage from MarkTechPost and Unwire.hk, is reviving a 1967 matrix normalization algorithm to stabilize hyperconnections with its MHC framework, likely powering a rumored V4 model around Lunar New Year. Frontiers in Medicine is showing how deep learning on EEG data could transform dementia diagnosis. Mihir Naik's blog, via Hacker News, argues that AI search is forcing businesses to rethink SEO, authority, and control over how they appear in AI-generated answers. And CNBC's interview with Anthropic's Daniela Amode highlights a do more with less strategy that may become the template for staying at the frontier without infinite compute. If you want to go deeper, you can check out all the original sources in description. That's it for today's AI News Roundup for January 5th, 2026. If you found this useful, make sure you're subscribed to Null.miko channel so you don't miss the next deep dive into how AI is reshaping everything from your brain to your browser. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.